Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Into the Crime Depths. Today, we delve into a story of unthinkable horror that shook quiet Ireland. It is a tale of unimaginable darkness that lurked beneath the facade of an ordinary life. Such is the case of the Hawe family. It was the morning of August 29, 2016. Mary Call was waiting for her two youngest grandchildren, Niall and Ryan, who her daughter Clodagh was supposed to drop off. But time was passing, and the lack of calls or messages from Clodagh or her husband, Alan Hawe, began to make Mary feel deeply anxious. Driven by a hunch, Mary headed to the Hawe family home on Oakdean Downs. There the lights were off, the curtains were closed, and the two cars in the garage immediately set off alarm bells. It was unlike Clodagh to be late without warning. As she approached the back door, Mary noticed a note. The words, "Do not enter, call the police," were written in Alan's unmistakable handwriting. In that instant, Mary knew something terrible had happened. She immediately called 911 at 10:40 a.m., then turned to a neighbor, the words of horror coming out of her mouth. "Alan probably did something to my daughter." When police arrived, the scene before Garda Alan Ratcliffe was heartbreaking. Inside the house, he found the lifeless body of Clodagh Hawe in the living room, brutally attacked. Beside her, a knife and a small axe, the weapons of the crime. The body of Alan Hawe was found in the hallway, apparently a suicide. Up the stairs, the horror continued. The bodies of their three sons, Liam, 13, Niall, 11, and Ryan, 6, lay in their bedrooms, victims of unspeakable violence. The investigation revealed a cold and meticulous plan. Alan Hawe had taken the axe from the shed and even moved the furniture to ensure Clodagh's back was turned when he attacked her. After murdering Clodagh, he sat down to write a chilling letter, then went upstairs with a new knife to kill her sleeping children, ensuring they couldn't call for help. Not only that, but after committing these monstrous acts, he returned downstairs to finish the letter and even transfer money from a joint account to his own. Alan's letter, obtained by his family only 16 months after the tragedy, offered a disturbing glimpse into his troubled mind. He spoke of a psychosis that tormented him and his inability to leave his family to bear the shame of his suicide. "I could not allow them to face a life without me, and the shame they would have to bear that their father had committed suicide," he wrote. Before this tragedy, Alan Hawe was seen as a respectable member and pillar of the community, a devoted head of the family, a respected deputy headmaster, and an active man in his community. However, this perfect facade began to crumble in June 2016, when he was caught viewing pornography on the school computer, a secret he had kept from Clodagh. This incident put a strain on their marriage and prompted Alan to seek counseling. Psychiatric tests, based on his records and suicide note, indicated that Hawe had been suffering from long-term depression that had escalated into a severe episode with psychotic symptoms at the time of the murders. Clodagh's family, especially her mother Mary and sister Jacqueline, have faced not only the unimaginable pain of loss, but also significant legal and bureaucratic battles to obtain information and support. They have criticized the lack of immediate assistance from the state and the slowness in releasing crucial documents. In 2019, the school where Clodagh taught opened a new classroom in her name, a moving tribute to her memory. The Hawe family case leaves us with heartbreaking questions about mental health, the truths behind appearances, and the devastating consequences when the darkness within erupts. The raw grief and confusion of Mary Call and her daughter Jacqueline were further compounded by a frustrating lack of information and support in the immediate aftermath. They found themselves learning about the tragedy not from official sources, but often from media reports. Jacqueline recounted a chilling detail. A local resident claimed to have seen Alan Hawe driving the family car towards the school around 6:30 a.m. the morning after the murders. This person had even given a statement to the Gardaí, Ireland's police force. The family desperately wanted to know if this was true, yearning for answers hidden within the official files. Amidst their unimaginable pain, the family expressed profound gratitude for the outpouring of support from across the country. They felt that finally, Clodagh, Liam, Niall, and Ryan were receiving the respect they deserved. It wasn't until an agonizing 16 months after the tragedy, just 2 weeks before the inquest, that Mary and Jacqueline finally received a copy of Alan Hawe's letter. This wasn't just a letter, it was a chilling descent into a disturbed mind. It offered disturbing insights into Alan's state of mind leading up to the murders, even revealing how he meticulously rearranged furniture to carry out his heinous plans. The note itself began with a truly unsettling reflection. All the good stuff we did, I was really into it. But I think there was some sort of psychosis that made me enjoy that. Yet in the next moment I was the complete opposite. He then offered a twisted apology for his actions. I'm sorry for how I murdered them all, but I simply had no other way. Initially, the Irish press painted a picture of Alan Hawe as an exemplary member of the community. He was portrayed as the devout head of a church-going family, a dedicated deputy principal, an athletics enthusiast, and a former handball champion. Described as the most normal man you could meet, a brilliant dad, and a kind and decent person. These glowing testimonials made the brutal reality of his actions even more shocking and incomprehensible. However, this carefully constructed facade began to crack in June 2016, just months before the murders. Alan Hawe was caught viewing pornography on a school computer, a detail that proved to be a critical turning point. He had accessed a staggering 97% of his pornography on his school laptop, keeping this secret meticulously hidden from his wife, Clodagh. Mary Call recalled a conversation with Clodagh in February 2016, where Clodagh confessed that Alan had admitted to his pornography use. This admission deeply strained their relationship, leading Hawe to begin counseling sessions every Tuesday night. Clodagh tried to reassure her mother that things were under control, but Mary sensed her daughter's underlying distress. While these sessions initially focused on his addiction, they later broadened to address issues at the school. Yet it was clear that after this exposure, Alan Hawe's world began to spiral dangerously out of control. Hawe's escalating troubles pointed to a profound internal struggle, a double life marked by outward normalcy and inner turmoil that likely fueled his psychological decline. But what truly drove him? Investigating Gardaí quickly confirmed that Hawe had no prior clinical history of mental health issues, nor had he ever sought mental health services. In the days leading up to the murders, locals reported no visible changes in his mental state or behavior. However, as we know, the absence of obvious indicators doesn't mean severe emotional distress wasn't present. At the Cavan Coroner's Court, Psychiatry professor Harry Kennedy presented his findings based on extensive documentation. Professor Kennedy concluded that Hawe had been grappling with somatic anxieties since 2008, escalating into severe preoccupations. These anxieties, accompanied by ruminations and exaggerated feelings of guilt, were all indicative of a major depressive illness. By the time of the murder-suicide, Hawe had transitioned from long-term depression to a severe episode that included psychotic symptoms. Professor Kennedy emphasized that such severe mental illness significantly impairs judgment, strongly suggesting Hawe's actions were influenced by this compromised mental state. Despite Hawe disclosing feelings of being run down, sleep difficulties, and even strangely treating a toenail problem with bleach, his general practitioner had only treated him for physical ailments over 5 years. In counseling sessions with David McConnell from March to June 2016, Hawe expressed ongoing troubles, admitting he felt the pressure of maintaining a perfect image in the community and a deep fear of shame. His final session, on June 21, 2016, ended emotionally, with Hawe breaking down in tears. Crucially, he stopped therapy after this session. On that same day, Hawe saw his GP for his toenail issue, mentioning sleep problems due to a work conflict. He was prescribed sleeping pills. His practitioner noted he appeared clear, coherent, focused, and displayed normal behavior, seemingly positive about an upcoming holiday. What the practitioner didn't know was that Hawe was also seeing a counselor, highlighting a critical gap in communication. In his note, Alan Hawe chillingly wrote, "I cannot let them face a life without me and the shame they would have to bear that their father had committed suicide. I have wanted to kill myself for a long time now, and I just could not bear the thought of leaving my mess and the anger and rejection that Clodagh and the boys would have to live with forever." This reveals a tragically common thought pattern in suicidal individuals, perceiving themselves as burdens, believing their loved ones would be better off without them. The inquest concluded on December 19, 2017, with verdicts of self-inflicted death for Alan Hawe. Clodagh's family faced enormous legal costs, reportedly accumulating $50,000 in debt in their fight for document release, and they strongly criticized the lack of state support for victims' families. In their own powerful words, the family emphasized they were savagely and brutally killed by Alan Hawe in a premeditated and calculated manner. It is clear from the evidence presented at the inquest that Clodagh and her boys were killed in a sequence that ensured that the eldest and most likely to provide effective resistance were killed first, and that they were executed in a manner which rendered them unable to cry out for help. This statement underscores the horrific deliberation behind Hawe's actions. The case was reviewed in 2019 following the family's persistence. In a touching tribute that same year, the school where Clodagh taught unveiled a new hall named in her memory. The Hawe family tragedy leaves us with profound and unsettling questions about the hidden depths of the human mind, the invisible struggles people face, and the devastating consequences when those struggles erupt into unimaginable violence. Do you believe there were missed opportunities to intervene, a moment that could have prevented this horrific catastrophe? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want more deep dives into the crime depths, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, stay safe. And remember, the true crime depths can be darker than we ever imagined.